There are so many controller choices now for the Nintendo Switch, so it can be hard to choose a controller. Most people, including myself, will tell you to just go for the official Switch Pro controller. But if you're on a budget or you're looking for another controller for like a second, third or fourth player and you don't want to shell out the fortune that is the official Pro controller, well, there's plenty of competition on the market. So today I've got two controllers from EasySMX and they are both less than half the price of the official Pro controller, and let's face it, they look gorgeous and the price tag is good, but how do they stack up? Hello and welcome everybody, my name is Gary from the Nintendo Village, and I just want to start off by saying thank you for the milestone that we hit this week, which is 4,000 subscribers. So thank you again if you've already subscribed, and if you're new around here, we do this thing every single week, so if you like this video then you know what to do. The first thing that you'll notice about these controllers is they are very flashy in design. The tiger printed one here is the YS06, and we have this one which has some snazzy face light buttons, which is the ESM-4108. Throughout this video I'm going to be comparing these to each other and to the official Pro controller, so you've at least got a point of reference. First off, we're going to start with the YS06, which is the one with the tiger design here. It's very lightweight and does feel quite plasticky, which is quite normal for controllers that are around half the price of the actual Pro controller. Gripping the controller, however, feels quite nice. The grips of the palms are a little bit slimmer than the official Pro controller, but fit quite comfortably in hand. Although it's quite light in weight, it's actually quite balanced, which is surprising. The buttons all have a similarly plastic feel, which doesn't feel out of place. The buttons have a nice click to them, and they do have a little bit more travel than the official Pro controller, but they actually generally feel quite nice. The triggers feel quite comfortable and have a harsher, louder click than the official Pro controller, and all the buttons are very responsive and they all generally feel quite good. The sticks also have a great feel to them. They've got this concave sort of design, which is great. They actually grip the thumb really well. They have a decent travel and resistance. They're just generally pretty good. The D-pad is also on the better side. It has a satisfying click to it, but can feel a little bit mushy when rolling around from one direction to the other. And okay, it's not perfect, but in my opinion, it's a little better than the one found on the official Pro controller. The YS06 also has a built-in gyroscope. Now, it is pretty good, and I would honestly play Splatoon happily with it. But I wouldn't say it's quite on par with the official Pro controller, but it definitely gets the job done. This controller also has a turbo function, which is operated by holding the T button located by the right analog stick and pressing the corresponding button to activate it. One of the things that this controller has that has surprised me though is a very good rumble that can actually be altered on the controller itself. By holding down that T button and pressing up and down on the D-pad, it actually adjusts the amount that the controller rumbles, and you can even turn it off using this. And I really like this feature. It's great to have it built into the controller instead of being controlled through some sort of software. There are some features which both of these controllers have in common, but we'll get to that once we've took a look at the ESM. The ESM-4108 is a very interesting controller to look at. It comes in a range of different styles. This one here is the hand design. One of the most notable features, other than the artwork, is the light up buttons. I actually quite like these. I've seen them on other controllers in the past and I've always liked them, and they look really good with the artwork here as well. Size wise, it's not a million miles away from the official Pro controller, and based on the same sort of shape and the same sort of lightweight feeling as the other controller that we just checked out. The grips on the back of this controller are textured, but they actually feel really slippy. They actually probably feel worse than the parts that aren't textured. And when you're getting into that intense section on a game, it does get very slippy. And actually, speaking of slippery, the thumbsticks are also quite slippery. They have this sort of flat surface, which doesn't really grip the thumb very well at all. And even though they're textured around the outside, honestly, it doesn't really help all that much. The buttons on this controller are actually quite nice. They have this like glossy sort of texture to them, including the back buttons too, and they have a nice click to them. I actually like them more than the other controller, and not quite up to the quality standards of the official Pro, but these are pretty close. Much like the YS, this too has the same built-in gyroscope, which is great, and it has the same turbo and rumble functionality. But it's not as good in execution as the YS. On this controller you have to hold down the right stick and press the screenshot button, which puts the controller into a different mode indicated by the light around the thumbstick turning to red. You can then hold the screenshot button down and press another button to activate the turbo. Or you can press up and down on the D-pad to adjust the rumble. Okay, so it might only be a minor problem for a lot of people out there, but you actually lose the use of the capture button while in this mode. I don't really use the capture button all that much, but I'm not really a fan of losing out on one feature just to activate another. These controllers have another few things in common. They both have an inbuilt battery which lasts about 8 hours on a 2 to 4 hour charge, and that's charged by a USB Type-C cable which comes included with them. Both of these controllers work on Nintendo Switch, PC, Android and also Raspberry Pi, which is handy. I'll definitely be using one of these on a Raspberry Pi. And where they do have some very similar strengths, they also have some minor omissions. Neither of them have NFC, so I'm sorry Amiibo fans, these won't work, and neither of these controllers can wake up the Switch from sleep either, meaning you have to turn the Switch on first before you compare these controllers to it. And even though these both include rumble, it's not HD rumble, which is worth noting. Not a major loss, not many games use it, but it's still worth noting anyway. So all in all, the ESM is a flashy controller with some really nice looking features on it. It's just a little let down by feeling a bit plasticky and a bit slippery, but it does have a lot of bells and whistles that a lot of controllers at this price point do not have. Me personally though, I would go for the YS06. It's still a really good looking controller, even though I don't like the design as much as the other one, but for the price it's definitely a better controller. And it has all the functionality that you're probably going to use, minus that NFC and HD rumble. But for the price, actually a really good controller, especially for like a second player, third player, fourth player, like I said before. So I'd honestly recommend this one. It's pretty good for the price. As I said, both of these controllers retail for just under half the price of the official Pro controller. I'll leave links down in the description to both of these controllers. And we also have a code that you can use at checkout. All the details for that are provided below. These controllers were provided to us by EasySMX, but haven't in any way impacted our reviews of them. Just want to make that clear, but thank you to EasySMX for sending them out. And so with that, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you head over to the nintendovillage.com for all sorts of news, reviews and podcasts. By the way, just posted a Monster Hunter Rise review over there. If you haven't played it yet, it's absolutely awesome. Also, don't forget to check out some of our buying guides. Some of those are really cool. And with that, I'll see you next week.